Hi everybody, it's Carolina from the Oak Bluffs Public Library, and here we are. It is Friday afternoon and it is time for Cooking with Carolina Live. And today I'm going to be making pesto and peach pie, a trio of peas. How exciting. As usual, this program is sponsored by the Library Friends of Oak Bluffs, and we are taking donations for them. They make this show possible, so please do consider donating. And let's get underway. I'm going to start with the peach pie, and I'm actually going to get a little wild here. This is my own peach pie recipe. I have been told it's the best peach pie ever. These are peaches from my very own peach tree. They're not fantastic. These are the only peaches that I got. They're pretty small, and some of them have a little damage, but they're perfect for pie. Now, for some people, they will kind of parboil the peaches to remove the skins. I actually don't do that. I leave the skins on. I don't mind it, but you can do what you would like. So first we will cut up the peaches. These actually, some of them feel a little green also. Now if you can't just pull it apart to get it off the pit, you can always cut around. Otherwise you're probably going to crush that precious peach meat. So I have a few peach trees in my yard, and 2 of them got peaches on them this year. And one of my oldest peach tree, which is very tall, probably like at least 20 feet tall, it's very big. It was my grandmother's peach tree. Had peaches all over it and was looking really promising. And then I thought to myself, oh, I should go and pick those peaches soon. Next day, boom. All the peaches were gone. Which has happened to me once before, and I was convinced that a neighbor came in and stole all my precious peaches. It was a deer. And they did it again this year. They can get up so high in the peach tree. I don't know how they do it. Somehow I never get to see it. But they steal all my peaches, and it makes me really mad. So this other peach tree is actually right next to my house, and it was a volunteer peach tree. So it must have grown out of a peach pit, which is kind of amazing and cool. And that one, I took a big net, a mesh net, and put it over the peach tree. So that one did survive. But the peaches are really subpar. So like this one, this is a problem with the peaches in West Tisbury. They get this brown rot, which will eventually go and ruin the entire peach. But this peach is not ruined. It's just got some nastiness to cut off, but just cut it off. Doesn't mean the whole thing is bad. Some very grandmotherly wisdom there. It's still good. You can use that. Just cut off the rotten part. But it's true. It is frustrating though. I would like to have better peaches. And there's been about 1 year in the past 5 or 6 years that I had really fantastic peaches. So there is hope for the future of my peaches. But regardless, it's always exciting to be making a pie with your own fruit. And on my property I have quite a few fruit trees and bushes. I have blueberries and the peach trees. The blueberries did pretty well this year. Not a ton, but decent. And then I have quite a few apple trees, most of which have absolutely no apples on them this year. Can you tell I need fruit help? One huge apple tree I have right up near my house. Ah, there's an ant. Has apples on it, but they're never very good. But they're good for applesauce, so that's what I do with those. And then I have 2 pear trees and raspberry bushes. Anything else? Oh, some grapevines. Has some kind of funky black mold on it. We'll cut that off too. Now, pies are the perfect thing to do with imperfect fruit. Oh, and we have some wine berries down the road. Those are new this year. Those were exciting. Some volunteers. Definitely none of these are picture perfect, but that's okay. Ooh, this one's probably about as good as it gets. Just a few more to go. These peaches I picked a little underripe also, just because I was afraid of having them stolen too, if they got any riper. Because those squirrels are also awfully wily. Damn squirrels. It's really sad. The brown rot here is just insidious, and there's not much you can do about it. You can spray a lot, but then what's the point of that? And spraying is really tough too. That one's just a total goner. No salvaging that one. This one's actually fairly decent. size of an apricot. Not gonna happen. Alright, well, we have done the best with the peaches that we have. And we will get rid of all this nastiness. Put that in the compost. Rinse off. Okay, now I'm going to do something I don't usually do. But I figured, why not? Let's go wild. I'm gonna add some blueberries. Boop. Now, to make this peach pie extra awesome, we add an egg from my chickens. And 2 tablespoons of just regular unbleached flour. That'll soak up some of those juices. Maybe about 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. Or you could go a little less. I think I'll probably go a little less. That seems like a lot. Some people like their pies very sweet. I like mine not very sweet. And now about 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. It's like butter. So I stick that in the microwave for about 30 seconds to melt it down. Then we have our trusty spurtle. You know I love my spurtles. Any excuse to say spurtle. We'll wait for that butter. Perfect. And put that melted butter on there. Now ooh, it already smells super good. Now mix that all together. And I finally wisened up and learned how to use big bowls for everything. It makes it so much easier to mix things. I always used to use these small bowls and try to contain everything in it. I don't know why. Big bowls are where it's at. I like big bowls and I cannot lie. Alright, so that looks fantastic for our pie filling. Do stir a little gently so you don't crush your precious fragile blueberries. So now if you've watched the show before, you'll know that it is too hot in the house to bake right now. So I'm going to put this aside and put it in a pie crust and bake it tomorrow morning. So there we have peach pie. Next up, pesto. I am a huge pesto fan. I love to eat it in the summer. I never can get enough. And I make mine a little differently than other people do, I think. I know a lot of people use pine nuts, which I've had, and it's fine. At the store, on Martha's Vineyard, it's very crowded in August. This year is no exception, and the stores are really wiped out of a lot of things every time I go. So, for the basil, I had to get 3 separate little teeny things to have enough. And hopefully that's enough. So I'm going to cut off some of the chunkier stems. And try to just get mostly the leaves. And for this we'll use the food processor, if you have one. Otherwise you can use a blender. I made mine in the blender for years. And it works quite well, but you have to scrape down the sides quite a bit. And stop it and scrape, and stop it and scrape. So the food processor is a bit easier in that regard. Ridiculous here. And then look at that. Flowers. Poor quality. What's this world coming to? Bolted basil. I don't know if once it bolts it changes the flavor. When something bolts, it's gone to seed. And usually after that, it's not very good anymore. Cilantro bolts very quickly. And so you have to do successive plantings of it if you expect to have cilantro around all summer long. One cilantro plant I had, is done and gone. And I do have a basil plant, but I just used it about a week ago, and so it hasn't grown back enough yet. I really need 4 or 5. Which I say to myself every year. I actually did have more, but they didn't make it. Alright, well, that's what we have for basil. Now, as I was saying, a lot of people use pine nuts in their pesto, but I actually prefer walnuts. I find it gives it a nice earthier taste, kind of mellows it out a little. I think it's really good. And takes snitting with it. So I put in about a 1/4 cup, maybe a little more than that, of the walnuts, and a bunch of basil, which ends up being maybe about 2 or 3 cups. And a clove or 2 of garlic, depending on how strong you like it. And about 1/2 cup of Parmesan. Like that. Roundabouts. And then, we'll get this going. And the great thing about the food processor is you can drizzle in your oil. Woo! Ah! Scrape down our sides. So it ends up being probably about 1/3 of a cup of oil that you use. And you can measure it out or you can drizzle it in, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And also you can blend it to your desired consistency. You can have it a little chunky if you want, or you can have it smoother. And you could get it even smoother by putting in more olive oil. So now that we have our pesto, I actually am not planning to use it for dinner tonight. So what I like to do with my pesto is I take a bag, a plastic bag, and turn it inside out. And then I use my hand to kind of squeegee all the pesto into the bag. And then I freeze it, and it freezes really, really well. It keeps its really beautiful green color. See, you can scoop it all out. And then whack it all down to get the air out. Like that. And then just wind it up and cover it. Now this wouldn't be for super long term, but it works for, you know, keeping it for a couple weeks, a month, 2 months. And I put it in the freezer just like this, and then the best part is you can even break off like little chunks of it when it's frozen and use that, so you don't have to use all of it. You can use it in so many things. You can use it to make salad dressings, you can make it to a pesto cream sauce sort of concoction. You can use it straight up like I do. I like it strong. So there we have it, pesto and peach pie, peach blueberry pie. So thank you again for joining me today. I will be here again next week making some sort of exciting concoction, so please do join me again. Thanks. Bye.